Hello everyone, that Manga Kid here to do another recommended video. Bizarre Individual has asked me actually a couple of times to talk about how I read so much manga, particularly during readathons. He is always commenting on how much I've read during various readathons and has asked me a couple of times if I can talk about kind of tips for reading manga and how I kind of go about it, because there is a bit of a method to my madness, and I am happy to share what I have done over the past several years to kind of get down my TBR list and just read a lot, but still enjoy what I'm reading. So the first thing that I personally do is I don't have a separate TBR shelf, and I also don't have I don't have a list. Like during readathons, I don't make a list of series that I am forcing myself to read. I've never made a video with a TBR for a readathon because I just don't want to limit myself to any sort of way that would commit me to reading something, or in my own mind being like, this is what I'm reading. I usually have a little list, like in one of my notebooks, that's just as the readathon approaches, I'll write down series and what volume I'm on of those series, of ones that I'm interested in reading, generally. But I don't make like a list of like, this is what I want to read during the readathon. It's more just like, oh, I kind of am in the mood for this and the readathon's in a few days, so I'll put it on the list, and if I get to it, I get to it, and if not, then I don't. But it's nothing concrete that I'm trying to commit to. And that is kind of to my next point, is I do this particularly during readathons, but also just in general, during times when I'm trying to read a lot in a specific span of time. I tend to focus on the flow of different series, and I just kind of go with that flow as I read. So I focus on themes. So I typically start readathons with a shoujo title because they're quick. They get me excited and happy and put me in a good mood, and I love shoujo manga, and so reading something, like Ao Haru Ride, for example, that I know is going to put me in a good mood, I would save, as I was pre-ordering those volumes, I'm like, oh, a readathon's coming up, I'll save that newest volume of Ao Haru Ride, and I'm going to kick off the readathon with that, so that I'm right there. So yeah, if a readathon's coming up, I'll save up some of my ongoing pre-ordered volumes of series I know I enjoy, so that I can read those volumes, the newest volumes, during the readathon, because I already know I'm excited to read those. So I'll just, bang those out really quickly at the start of the readathon to get myself in the mood to read more manga. And then I kind of delve into the series that I've had on my shelf for a while, that I've been trying to read, and I focus on the theme. So like I said, I'll start with a shoujo, and maybe in that shoujo, there's a character that, I don't know, does something or reminds me of a character from another series, and I go, and that pops in my head, and I go, oh, now I'm in the mood to read whatever that other series is. And usually it ends up bouncing me around to various different genres, because I'll read something sickeningly sweet, and then all of a sudden, like while I'm reading that sweet manga, I'll be like, I am in the mood for decapitation, and so I'll go on to something like King of Eden, where it's just brutal and violent and gory and gross. And then I'll read probably a couple different kind of darker themes. Maybe King of Eden has some political themes, so maybe from there I'm like, oh, I'm kind of in the mood for politics. I'll go on to, I don't know, I can't think of one right now, but, or maybe a dystopian society or a utopian society. And from there, like, I'll jump to number 6, which has a utopian sort of futuristic setting, but it also has a bit of boys' love in it. And from that, I'll be like, hey, maybe I'm in the mood for yaoi now, and jump to a yaoi series. And that kind of going with the flow, if that makes sense, of like, as I'm reading a title, something will remind me of another title, and from there I'll immediately already know what I'm going to read next, because I've got some inkling of a genre or a particular character I feel like reading about. And that just goes along with, I know what's on my shelves. I know what I'm picking up. I know the general themes of what I'm picking up. And so, even though I may not have read a particular series yet, I can go, hey, I know that this theme is in this series at some point, so maybe I'll just jump and read that. And then I also, outside of readathons, I mentioned pre-orders. I pre-order a lot of manga. Not much right now because shipping and stuff just isn't really happening as frequently as I'd like, so I don't have pre-orders, and I haven't for a little while now. But when I do pre-order things, I read them when they come in. There are very few series that I specifically don't read because I don't want, it just doesn't lend itself to it, like 20th Century Boys. I was pre-ordering all those volumes of the newer Perfect editions, and I didn't want to read the volume as it came out because that is such a dense story with so many intricate things happening that I didn't want to read volume to volume and wait months in between and forget what was happening. So I would chunk a bunch of them together and maybe wait for 3 or 4 volumes to be in my possession before I read that chunk of them. But it was always on my radar. It's something I'm excited to read. I'm caught up now with what I have. But other than that, anything else that really comes into my collection besides those very specific series I intentionally chunk together, I'm reading volume to volume so that I'm not ending up with, a TBR that has like 80 volumes on it, but they're all like a couple volumes of each series. I just read them as they come in, and if I lose part of the story in that experience, it just makes a reread experience even more fun. So that's something that I do to make sure that I'm reading what's in my collection and being excited about what's in my collection. It also, gets me excited to purchase more because, if I'm gathering a bunch of volumes and not actually reading them, I could end up with 5 or 6 volumes of a series that I've been buying for a long time, and I don't even know if I like it still because I haven't read anything of it in a long time. So that really helps me. The other thing is I do have a TBR jar where I put all of the series that I have not completed reading that I have on, concurrent volumes of. So it doesn't include obviously any of the series that I have randomly collected and I have like a volume 5, but I don't have anything else, so I can't read that volume. It's only series that I have the next volume that I can read. And I counted the other day actually, and I have like over almost 1,900 volumes of manga in my room, and I only have like 70 volumes of manga that I can read in this moment that I have not read in my collection, which is crazy to me. I thought I had so much more than that. I just thought that I had a huge portion of my collection that I hadn't read, and I was wrong. Like 70 volumes is not that many in comparison to what I have. So I'm pretty proud of myself for making sure I'm enjoying and reading my collection. But yeah, I do the TBR jar every month. I pull a few titles out. Again, not forcing myself to read them, but just to give myself an idea of what I could be reading. Because otherwise, all of my manga is double stacked, so I don't see everything in my collection in front of my face all the time. So it's easy to forget some of the stuff that's on the shelf. So having the TBR jar is literally just a way for me to go like, oh yeah, I have that and I haven't read it yet. If something comes in and I don't read it right away, then I add it to the jar at the end of the month and make sure that it is staying on my radar. And updating this jar constantly, going through and crossing out the ones, getting rid of the papers that are series that I did actually read, and also adding more in and constantly looking at all those little slips of paper and being like, did I finish this one yet? Did I get new volumes of this one? Whatever is also a good way to keep the series that I haven't read on my radar, on my mind. And yeah. The other thing that I do is I talk about what I'm reading on my channel. I find that for me, doing review videos, doing first impression videos, all of that propels me to read more of my collection, because I want to consistently be making content, and if I'm not reading, I can't consistently make content. And so, you know, if I have a series on my shelf that's not read yet, but I have the whole thing, if I finish that series, I can then make a review video of that series. If I buy a new series and I have volumes like 1 or 2 in my collection and I don't read them, I can't make a first impression video of that yet. And so, you know, my YouTube channel and my, you know, desire to talk about series with all of you and hear your thoughts on them and make sure that I'm getting out content on a regular, consistent basis and making sure that it's timely. So like, you know, O Maidens in Your Savage Season, I had been collecting that one for a long time. It finished with volume 8, so I wanted to finish the series so that I could then post a video that was timely enough that you can then, you know, go, oh, this is a series that recently finished. You know, I spoke about it, and maybe you decide whether or not you want to go pick it up. First impressions, same thing. I want to make sure that the manga I'm picking up, if it's new, that I'm reading it in a timely manner so I can make a video and have it posted so that you too can decide if this is a series that you would like to start reading. So I like to talk about everything that I'm reading. I try to do that, and it propels me to read more and also create consistent content, which is a nice balance for me. My dog has joined me. Yeah, and in terms of readathons, I like to read stuff that I may not create a video for, just so that I can actually talk about it. Because for series that maybe I made a first impression video a long time ago and the series isn't finished, or I don't own all of it, or it's out of print and I don't think I'm gonna own all of it in a long time, but I still wanna make sure it's on people's radar, I will make sure that I'm reading those kinds of series during readathons so that when I do my wrap-up video, I can talk about those series. So even if it's a series like, I don't know, some of the older Tokyopop stuff that I've come into for pretty cheap, or, you know, stuff that I may not generally be excited about reading, I get excited to read them during readathons because I want to talk about it in a way that I know that I'm not going to make a dedicated video, but I want to make sure that I am speaking about it at some point on my channel outside of just my hauls. Yeah, and with the haul videos too, making sure I'm reading the ongoing volumes of things that I'm pre-ordering at the end of the month during my haul. I can then actually talk about the series continuously and how I enjoy it, rather than just saying, I bought this, I don't know what this volume is about because I haven't read it yet. I like to read what I'm getting so that I can give an accurate kind of representation, an ongoing representation of what my impressions of a series is. So that's pretty much it. That was a lot of talking. I don't know if any of that made sense or is helpful at all to anybody, but I hope that something made sense to you in this video, or that it gave you some ideas of what you could do with your own collection. Obviously, everybody processes information differently. Everybody has different ways that their minds work and that they can you know, get things done. And just because I don't have a TBR shelf dedicated to the books that I haven't read yet doesn't mean it won't work for you. It just doesn't work for me at this point. So space-wise and, you know, mentality-wise, like I just, that's not the way my brain works. So, but yeah, I encourage you to try different things. You know, try out a TBR jar, try out a TBR shelf or a cart, or, you know, try different things to get yourself to read more. But I think that the biggest thing is knowing what's in your collection and constantly, you know, whether it's visually seeing what's on your shelves, or like me, I've got my spreadsheets that I've categorized my entire collection. I've got my TBR jar that keeps those series on my mind, so that when I'm thinking, oh, what do I want to read? Oh yeah, I've got, XYZ that I haven't read yet that I can go pick up. But yeah, I mean, I hope that you are all doing well. I hope that you are enjoying your manga collection and that it is not stressing you out in any way, because I don't think that's the point of all this. But yeah, if you have any video suggestions of topics you'd like me to discuss, feel free to leave them down below. I am happy to take suggestions. I do pre-film all my videos, so it may be a few months out before you see your suggestion come to fruition in a video, but I will try my best to make videos about things that y'all want to hear. So anyway, thank you for watching.